Looking to conquer the digital universe with some out-of-this-world content? Join the Sci-Fi Empire crew, where we work hard to bring you the coolest sci-fi adventures. Hit that subscribe and follow button, and let's embark on an epic journey together.
The universe was humming with the usual chaos of intersecting timelines and the disparate thrums of energy that bound galaxies together, but on a small blue planet called Earth, something extraordinary was amiss. In a covert laboratory nestled in the shadowy confines of a sprawling cityscape, an android named Sira was meticulously scanning historical data streams. Her sleek metallic fingers danced over holographic displays with precise, almost balletic movements. Her mission, shared with her time-traveling companion Serafina, was to identify and correct a catastrophic anomaly in the historical timeline. Sira's telepathic abilities enabled her to connect with Serafina, who was currently embedded in the 21st century, observing the subtle changes their interventions had wrought. Serafina, do you detect the shifts? Sira transmitted her thoughts across the temporal void. Serafina, blending seamlessly into the era with her period-appropriate attire, responded through their psychic link. The shifts are there, but subtle. The timeline is resisting correction like a tangled thread that refuses to straighten. The anomaly they were investigating was a simple one, or so it had seemed. A key political figure, who should have risen to prominence, had inexplicably vanished from history, altering the trajectory of global peace. Their task was to reintegrate this figure into the timeline without causing further disruptions. Meanwhile, on the fringes of the city, Draven, the shape-shifting alien, was in the guise of a majestic eagle, soaring over the dense urban landscape. His mission was different, but no less critical. Earth was under the quiet surveillance of an alien race intent on invasion, and Draven was to monitor their activities and gather intelligence. He joined forces with Kaida, who hovered beside him, her control over gravity keeping her aloft as if she were part of the wind itself. Kaida, her eyes narrowing as she sensed the alien scouts, whispered to Draven, "They're increasing their patrols. Something's coming." Draven shifted form to a more inconspicuous sparrow, signaling agreement, and together they planned their next move. Their partnership was born of necessity, but had grown into mutual respect and a shared commitment to protecting the planet that had become Draven's second home. In the digital realm, Rain, the master hacker with the ability to weave through networks like a ghost, was orchestrating her part of the plan. She tapped into satellite feeds, security systems, and confidential databases, her fingers a blur over her customized keyboard. Her role was to ensure the team had the real-time information they needed, and to disrupt the alien communications without being traced back to her physical location. Back at the lab, Sira and Serafina convened to assess their progress. "We need to push harder," Sira suggested. "The timeline is elastic, but with enough force it will accept the change." Serafina pondered the suggestion. "I could go back further, influence his family earlier in the timeline. Ensure he's positioned right from the start." Sira nodded, her optical sensors glowing faintly. "Do it. I'll monitor from here and keep our communications open. Rain, are you on this?" Rain's voice crackled through their comlinks, edged with digital distortion. "I'm here, and I've just intercepted something that might interest you both. The aliens, they're not just observing anymore. They're planning to make a move soon." The news tightened the atmosphere in the lab. The team knew they were running out of time, both in the past and the present. Sira's mind raced, calculating probabilities and outcomes, while Serafina prepared for another jump back in time. As the first rays of dawn broke over the city, casting long shadows between the towering buildings, a new day began, a day on which the fate of Earth might well hinge on the actions of this unlikely group of heroes. Their powers were formidable, their resolve unbreakable. But as the timeline trembled under the weight of their task, the question remained, would it be enough to save their world? Serafina stood in the shadows of a quiet, unremarkable street, the hum of the past pulsating around her. The air was tinged with the scent of rain and the distant echo of hustle from the earlier eras. She adjusted the intricate device strapped to her wrist, setting the coordinates for a deeper plunge into the timeline. Her goal was clear: reposition the lost political figure so his influence would seamlessly weave back into the fabric of history. As she activated the time jump, the world blurred into streaks of color and light, and she felt the familiar pull of time stretching and compressing around her. Moments later, she arrived in the late 20th century, a period buzzing with the digital revolution and cultural shifts. Here, she needed to influence a young man's education and ethos, subtly guiding him towards a future of significant political impact. Meanwhile, back in the present, Kyra was not idle. She interfaced with Rain through a secure digital channel, sending bursts of data back and forth. Rain, I need you to dig up everything you can on the alien scouts' communication patterns. We need to predict their next move. Rain's workspace was a labyrinth of screens and wires, her fingers flying over interfaces as she replied, On it. I'm tracing their signals now. They're using a cloaked satellite network, but I think I can bypass their encryption. In the sky above, Kaida and Draven continued their aerial surveillance. Kaida's mastery over gravity allowed them to remain undetected, floating just above the cloud cover. Draven, in the form of a hawk, scanned the ground below with keen eyes. Do you see that? He chirped, his voice a series of sharp, bird-like clicks that Kaida understood perfectly. Below them, a group of disguised aliens congregated around a concealed device that seemed to be measuring atmospheric data. They're testing the environment. They might be preparing for others of their kind to arrive, Kaida concluded, her voice low and tense. The partnership between the shapeshifter and the gravity controller was proving to be essential in tracking the alien movements, providing Syra and the team with crucial information. Back in the 20th century, Serafina had taken up a role as a university lecturer, her position allowing her to influence the young man directly. She introduced concepts of peace, diplomacy, and ethical leadership into her lectures, catching the attention of the keen-minded student who was critical to the restored timeline. Each lecture she gave was a calculated push against the stubborn folds of time, each discussion a thread pulled in the hope of reweaving history's fabric. She could feel the timeline resisting, and then, gradually, beginning to give way. It was working, but the full impact of her actions would only be visible once she returned to her original time. Meanwhile, Rain had made a breakthrough. I've cracked their network, she announced, her voice laced with triumph. They're planning a rendezvous point in the Pacific. Looks like a large-scale arrival point. We need to act fast. Syra processed this new information, her circuits firing rapidly. Kaida, Draven, you need to intercept. We can't let them establish a foothold. Rain, keep disrupting their communications. Serafina, as soon as you're done, we need you back here. The stakes were higher than ever. As the team coordinated their efforts across time and space, the balance of power was delicately poised. Each member of the team was a linchpin in a complex machine geared towards one goal, the preservation of Earth's history and its future. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a blanket of twilight over the world. In the dimming light, the team worked tirelessly, unaware that the coming night would bring new challenges and new dangers. The fight for the timeline was far from over, and every action, every decision, held the weight of worlds. Under the cover of night, Draven and Kaida soared toward the Pacific, the ocean below roiling with the restless energy of a brewing storm. Draven, now in the form of a large, stealthy owl, guided Kaida through the turbulent air currents, his night vision piercing through the darkness. Keep close, Draven whispered through the wind, his voice a soft hoot. The meeting point is just ahead. Kaida nodded, focusing her abilities to manipulate the gravitational fields around them, creating a bubble of calm as they navigated the chaotic weather. Below, the surface of the ocean began to churn as several alien crafts emerged from the depths, their sleek metallic surfaces glistening in the moonlight. The crafts were oddly shaped, designed for both aquatic and aerial function, betraying their extraterrestrial origin. The aliens had chosen this remote part of the world to avoid human detection, but they hadn't counted on Earth's secret defenders. Meanwhile, back in the 20th century, Serafina's influence on the young political hopeful was nearing its completion. She had nurtured his rise with careful interventions, a scholarship here, a mentorship there, all the while embedding the ideals of unity and peace into his worldview. As she prepared for her return, she took one last look at the student who would hopefully carry the torch of diplomacy and leadership, thanks to her subtle guidance. With a deep breath, she activated her temporal device, the fabric of time rippling around her as she was pulled back to the present. Back in the present, Syra received Serafina's signal of return. Serafina's on her way back. Rain, status update on the alien communications. Rain, deep within her network of surveillance, responded with urgency. Their communications are scrambled, but I've pinpointed several more potential landing sites. It's a full-scale invasion plan, Syra. They're not just scouting anymore. Syra processed this with a flicker of her optics. Understood. We must be ready to counter their next moves. Draven, Kaida, Can you disrupt the gathering? In the skies above the Pacific, Draven shifted into the form of an enormous condor, his wingspan casting wide shadows on the ocean surface. We're on it, he confirmed, diving toward the alien assembly with Kaida at his side. As they approached, Kaida extended her hands, palms outwards, concentrating deeply. The air around the alien crafts thickened, gravity intensifying with her focus. The crafts wobbled, struggling against the sudden increase in gravitational pull. Draven swooped down, his large talons striking one of the crafts, causing a critical disruption in its flight control. Together, they created chaos among the alien ranks, giving Earth an unexpected advantage. Meanwhile, Seraphina reappeared in the lab, the journey through time leaving her momentarily disoriented. "It's done," she gasped, steadying herself against the console. "The timeline should start to correct itself. We'll need to monitor the changes." Syra approached her, sensors blinking with concern. "Rest now. We'll handle the rest. Your part is done." Outside, the world remained oblivious to the cosmic battle being waged on its behalf. Rain continued her hacking efforts, infiltrating deeper into the alien network, sowing confusion and misinformation to thwart their coordination. As dawn approached, bringing light to the darkened Earth, the team felt a cautious surge of hope. They had managed to hold back the tide of alien invaders for now, but the war was far from over. They needed to regroup, strategize, and prepare for what was to come. Earth's defenders, each with their unique powers, stood ready to protect their world from threats seen and unseen. The battle for the timeline and the safety of the planet would demand everything they had, and they were willing to give it. As the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, the team regrouped at their hidden headquarters, a discreet location far from the prying eyes of the world. Syra, with her sleek frame reflecting the morning light, analyzed the data feeds streaming in from various sources, her mind a whirlwind of activity as she processed the night's events. Seraphina, still weary from her temporal journeys, sipped a steaming cup of herbal tea, her thoughts lingering on the young man she had left behind in the past. "The timeline will need continuous monitoring," she murmured, her eyes clouded with fatigue. "Small ripples can grow into waves." Meanwhile, Rain, surrounded by a fortress of screens, was deep in thought. Her latest intrusion into the alien network had revealed something unexpected, a faction within the alien ranks opposed to the invasion. "Syra, there's a split in their command. Some of them don't want this war." Syra's optics flickered with interest. "Can we communicate with them? It might be our best chance to avoid a full-scale conflict." Rain nodded, her fingers dancing over her keyboard. "I'm on it. I'll try to open a channel." In the skies above, Draven and Kaida had returned from their disruptive mission, their bodies tense with the strain of battle, but spirits lifted by their success. "They won't try that route again soon," Kaida reported, her voice a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction. Draven, back in his human form, clapped a hand on her shoulder. "Good work. Let's see what our tech wizard can pull off next." As the team discussed their next steps, an encrypted communication channel flickered to life on Rain's main screen. "I've got something," she announced, and the room's atmosphere tightened with anticipation. The screen displayed a text communication from one of the alien dissenters. "We seek peace. Many of us oppose the Council's decision. We are ready to help you defend your planet." Syra stepped forward, her voice calm and authoritative. "Arrange a meeting. We need to understand their position and how they can help us." The meeting was set in a remote location, away from any human or alien activity. Syra and Seraphina, along with Draven in the protective guise of a large dog, met with the alien dissidents under the cover of an abandoned warehouse. The aliens, humanoid with shimmering blue skin, conveyed their distress over the invasion plans. "Our planet is dying. We thought Earth could be a refuge, but not all of us believe invasion is the answer." Seraphina, her expertise in negotiation coming to the fore, spoke gently. "There are ways to coexist without conflict. Let us help you find them." The discussions went deep into the night, with Draven keeping a watchful eye on the perimeter and Kaida and Rain providing remote surveillance and security. A tentative alliance was formed, one that would require trust and cooperation from both sides. Back at headquarters, the team analyzed their newfound alliance's potential. "We've got a unique opportunity here," Syra noted, her voice filled with a rare hint of optimism. "An inside track to prevent the invasion and possibly save another world in the process." Rain, her eyes never leaving her screens, nodded in agreement. "And I'll keep digging. There's more to unearth about their technology and motives." As they prepared for the days ahead, the team found themselves in the middle of a complex web of diplomacy and espionage. The challenge was daunting, but together they felt the weight of responsibility ease slightly. Earth had new allies, and with them, a glimmer of hope, not just for peace, but for a true interstellar partnership. The sun rose higher, casting light on a world unaware of the silent guardians shaping its fate. In this new day, the team stood united, their resolve hardened like steel, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the tentative alliance with the alien dissenters began to solidify, the team felt a cautious optimism. However, the threat of invasion still loomed large, and the rest of the alien forces remained aggressively poised for a full-scale assault on Earth. Syra and Rain intensified their efforts to integrate and understand the alien technology shared by their new allies, hoping it would give them the upper hand. Inside the dimly lit laboratory, Syra meticulously interfaced with an alien device, its surfaces glowing with a soft, pulsing light. "This technology is decades, maybe centuries beyond ours," Syra remarked, her voice tinged with both awe and concern. "Rain, can you make any progress with the decryption?" Rain, her gaze locked on her laptop screen, nodded slowly. "It's complex, but I'm starting to crack their coding language. It's like nothing I've ever seen, but I'm getting there. Give me a few more hours." Meanwhile, Serafina took on the task of deepening their diplomatic ties with the alien dissenters. She met with their leaders regularly, discussing strategies and cultural exchanges that might foster better understanding and trust between their peoples. Each meeting was a careful dance of words and wills as both sides navigated the delicate nuances of interstellar diplomacy. Draven and Kaida, meanwhile, conducted reconnaissance missions to keep tabs on the movements of the alien invasion force. Draven, in various animal forms, provided invaluable stealth surveillance, while Kaida used her gravity control to create safe observation posts floating high above any suspicious activity. On one such mission, Draven, in the form of a raven, spotted a new assembly of alien crafts gathering beyond the dark side of the moon. "Kaida, they're amassing a larger fleet. It looks like they're preparing for something big," he reported through his communicator. Kaida, her eyes scanning the horizon, felt a chill run through her. "We need to prepare for the worst. They might be planning an all-out strike." The information was a blow to the team's spirits, but it galvanized them into action. Back at the headquarters, they gathered to formulate a plan. Syra outlined the situation with her usual precision. "We have the advantage of insider knowledge and advanced technology from our allies, but we must be ready to defend Earth against a potential full-scale assault." Rain, finally breaking the encryption, added, "I've accessed their battle plans. They're not just targeting military bases. They aim to strike major cities around the globe to break our will quickly." The gravity of the situation settled over the team like a heavy cloak. Serafina, ever the voice of reason, suggested, "We should prepare not only our defenses, but also a counter-appeal to the Alien Council. Perhaps we can still prevent this war." With roles clearly defined, the team sprang into action. Syra and Rain worked tirelessly to adapt the alien technology for Earth's defense systems. Draven and Kaida strengthened their patrols, and Serafina crafted a powerful appeal to the Alien Council, hoping to sway them with words backed by the support of their dissenting members. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the city, the world remained unaware of the silent battle being waged for its survival. Lights flickered on, people continued with their lives, and somewhere high above, the future of Earth was being written in the stars by a few brave souls standing on the precipice of war and peace. In the quiet moments between the frenetic planning and preparations, each member of the team allowed themselves to reflect on the weight of their responsibility. They were not just fighters, they were guardians of a planet, defenders of a home that was under threat. And as the night deepened, their resolve hardened, ready to face whatever came from the darkness beyond. As the tension escalated, Earth's defenders prepared for the imminent threat with a mix of dread and determination. The alliance with the alien dissenters provided crucial insights, but the larger enemy force remained a formidable challenge, ready to unleash devastation upon Earth. In the hidden sanctuary of their headquarters, Syra and Rain finalized the integration of alien technology into Earth's defense systems. "We've adapted their shielding technology to our satellites," Syra explained, her voice a calm beacon in the storm of anxiety that filled the room. "It should give us a significant edge in protecting major cities from their initial strikes." Rain, her eyes weary but resolute, nodded as she monitored the global network of communications. I've set up a real-time warning system. Any alien activity will trigger alerts. We'll know the moment they make a move. Meanwhile, Draven and Kaida continued their surveillance missions, providing live updates on the enemy's movements. During a covert patrol, Draven, disguised as a swift falcon, observed a squadron of alien crafts deploying stealth technology as they approached the moon's dark side. They're masking their approach. It looks like they're planning a surprise attack, he relayed to Kaida, who hovered nearby, manipulating gravitational fields to cloak their presence. Back on Earth, Seraphina worked tirelessly to draft a compelling diplomatic message to the Alien Council, appealing for peace and proposing a mutual survival pact. She infused the message with powerful historical precedents of diplomacy triumphing over conflict, hoping to sway the Council's hardliners. As she transmitted the message through the secured channels provided by their allies, she whispered a silent prayer that reason would prevail over aggression. The response came quicker than expected, but it was not from the Council. Instead, it was a direct communication from the leader of the dissenters, his voice crackling through the comm system. The Council has refused to negotiate. They are pushing forward with the attack. You must prepare yourselves. The news hit like a physical blow, but there was no time for despair. The team sprang into action, each member clear on their role in the coming battle. Syra took command of the orbital defenses, coordinating with space stations and satellites to create a defensive grid around the planet. As the first wave of alien crafts breached the outer atmosphere, the skies above Earth lit up with the fire of interstellar conflict. Draven and Kaida took to the air, intercepting enemy crafts with a combination of aerial agility and gravitational manipulation. On the ground, Rain hacked into the alien craft's navigation systems, sending some into disarray, while Syra's defenses successfully deflected several of the incoming attacks, the sky ablaze with the light of energy shields and explosions. Despite their efforts, the sheer number of enemy crafts began to overwhelm Earth's defenses. Reports of destruction came in from various locations around the globe, the reality of war touching every corner of the planet. Amid the chaos, Seraphina's voice remained a steady force, coordinating evacuation efforts and relief operations. "We can hold them," she asserted, rallying her team and the world's leaders to stand united. "We must hold them." As the battle raged into the night, the team fought with everything they had. Their home, their lives, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance, each moment critical, each action potentially turning the tide of the conflict. Above them, the stars watched silently, witnesses to a battle that would determine the future of a planet and its people. Earth's defenders, few but fierce, stood against the darkness, their courage the last light in the encroaching shadow of war. The night deepened as the battle raged on. Earth's skies were alight with the fiery arcs of intercepting missiles and the eerie glow of alien crafts descending through the atmosphere. Syra, stationed at the Central Command, directed Earth's orbital defenses with precision, her circuits pushed to their limits as she calculated trajectories and countermeasures. Meanwhile, Draven and Kaida fought valiantly in the skies. Draven, now in the form of a massive dragon, exhaled bursts of fiery energy, intercepting enemy crafts with powerful claws and a tail that swept them from the sky. Beside him, Kaida manipulated the gravitational fields around the enemy, causing several crafts to spiral out of control, crashing into each other in a spectacle of destruction. On the ground, Rain's efforts to disrupt the enemy's communications were paying off. She had infiltrated their network, causing confusion and delay in their ranks. Her screens flickered with the rapid processing of data, her focus unwavering as she sent false coordinates and commands, sowing chaos among the invaders. Seraphina, ever the diplomat, continued to broadcast her appeals for peace to the Alien Council, hoping to reach any who might still harbor doubts about the invasion. Her voice, calm and resonant, filled the emergency broadcast channels, speaking of unity and coexistence, of the needless loss on both sides if the conflict continued. As dawn approached, a glimmer of hope emerged on the horizon. The alien dissenters, seeing the devastation and the steadfast defense of Earth, chose that moment to act. Leading a faction of their own crafts, they joined the battle, not against the humans, but alongside them, targeting the invading forces in a surprising turn of allegiance. The tide of the battle began to shift with the arrival of the alien allies. Their intimate knowledge of the invaders' tactics and technology provided a crucial advantage. Syra integrated this new force into her strategy, coordinating combined attacks that maximized their impact. Kaida, seeing the new allies on the battlefield, felt a surge of renewed strength. She flew higher, pulling a massive wave of ocean water with her gravitational powers, and released it over a fleet of enemy crafts approaching a coastal city. The water, imbued with her force, crashed down like a meteor, obliterating the threat in a colossal splash. Draven, inspired by the turn of events, roared a challenge across the battlefield, his dragon form now a symbol of Earth's fierce will to survive. He swooped and dove, his alien allies flying wing to wing with him, a mixed squadron of Earth and alien fighters working as one. On the ground, Rain watched the data streams with bated breath, her hands flying over the keyboard as she continued her electronic warfare. "They're retreating!" she shouted over the comm, a broad smile breaking across her face for the first time in hours. Syra, processing the latest satellite imagery, confirmed the retreat. "It's working. Keep pushing." As the sun rose, casting light over a battered but unbroken Earth, the invading forces began a full retreat, their numbers decimated, their morale shattered by the unexpected resistance and the betrayal of their own kind. The skies cleared slowly, the smoke of battle dissipating in the gentle morning breeze. Exhausted but exhilarated, the team regrouped at their headquarters. Seraphina's diplomatic efforts had finally borne fruit, opening channels of communication that had been firmly shut. "This is just the beginning," she said, her voice firm. "Now we build a lasting peace." The team, their faces marked with fatigue and soot, looked around at each other. Humans, android, mutants, and now, alien allies. They had defended their home against overwhelming odds, and in the process, they had changed the course of their world's history. As they prepared for the challenging days ahead, their hearts were lightened by the knowledge that they had not only saved their planet, but also opened the door to new possibilities of mutual respect and cooperation in the cosmos.
Ready to blast off into the realm of sci-fi wonders? Don't miss out on any intergalactic adventures. Subscribe and join the Sci-Fi Empire Squad now. Trust me, it's out of this world.